Lads, the Fever have done it again. The Fever have done it again. And if you guys don't know, they've done the survey. They have done the survey. If you guys don't understand what the survey is. So basically last year, a lot of people blamed the survey. A lot of people blamed the survey. And the survey was basically the Indiana Fever sent it out to fans. And they asked them a whole bunch of questions. They asked them a whole bunch of questions. And it was all about like, would you be fans of the team? And what happens if we did this? Like, why would you stop being fans of the Fever? And why did you become fans of the Fever? But a lot of the questions were, why did you become fans of the Fever? Caitlin Clark. And I think a lot of people are now, when they're talking about it, they're like, okay, they fully believe that the Indiana Fever becoming Apple was because a bunch of people didn't answer in the survey that they would leave, that they would stop watching if Caitlin Clark left the team. And look, I think there's a lot of people that are fans of the Fever, and while Caitlin Clark is injured, are still going to be fans of the Fever. But if Caitlin Clark ever leaves the Fever, they're gone. So some of these questions were a bit of a strange ones. Like these, I couldn't find this survey, but from correlation, when you think of the WNBA, who are the first three teams that come to mind? I kid you not. Liberty Aces Storm. I'm not even joking. Liberty Aces Storm. If you ask me for teams, not players, Liberty Aces Storm. Storm, because they were iconic. Liberty, because I've been to New York a little bit and there's Liberty stuff everywhere. And the Aces were the big Vegas team. And randomly, just a picture of Charlotte Fury. Never heard of them. Only heard the name familiar, but don't consider myself a fan. Casual fan, passionate fan. Who the fuck are the Charlotte Fury? What sport is this? Why are they asking if we know any lacrosse teams? When you think of the WNBA, who are the first three players that come to mind? Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers, Angel Reese. You mentioned you have at least heard the names of the following WNBA players. Which WNBA team does each player belong to? If you don't know the answer, click I don't know. Like, what is going on? And then obviously there's this. This team helps me experience things I couldn't before. Please select low for each one. Minnesota Lynx. Like, what's that supposed to mean? WNBA Cup, get Fever fans more emotion since Caitlin Clark is playing for them. Like, what the hell is this supposed to mean? And this question is the funniest one. Because remember last year, a lot of the questions were about, why would you stop Caitlin Clark leaves and why did you become a fan, Caitlin Clark? This is the only reason I'm making this video. What was the origin of your fandom for the Fever? Just like 97% of Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark joined the team. They average like 3,000 seats to like 3,000 fans to 16,000 selling out every game last year. But I saw them playing on TV. You might have done that with Caitlin Clark. I saw social media content about them. There is not one single fan that has become an Indiana Fever fan because of the team content. They're a local team where I live now, fair. I saw they were partnering. Well, you know what? Actually, you know what? Maybe some fans like Sophie Cunningham's TikToks and are a fan then. But I saw they were partnering with one of my favorite brands. Which betting company is that? Which betting company is that? The only real public partnership in terms of like outfacing is them with freaking gambling companies. Well, not the only. The main one is with gambling companies. They're the local team from my hometown. Okay. They recruited one of my favorite players from college. Okay, maybe you're a South Carolina fan. Maybe you're a Florida State fan. FSU have Mikhail Timpson and Natasha Howard, I guess, but I just don't know. I saw them play in person. There's no way in hell you could afford to go to a Fever game in person as your very first game and become a Fever fan. They recruited one of my favorite players from another WNBA team. Oh, you don't want to ask that question? My friends are fans in other. They literally have Caitlin Clark this year down to other. Last year, in their defense, last year, a load of questions were about Caitlin Clark being like, did Caitlin Clark bring you in, essentially? Would you stay if Caitlin's gone and all this stuff? Now it's like, what is the other reason? 97% is other. Caitlin Clark got drafted by the Indiana Fever. People don't understand that if, and this is even with Kelsey Mitchell and Leah Boston, the Indiana Fever would not have made last year's playoffs. I think they'd be in the hunt for this year's playoffs, as we've seen. I think they'd still be in the hunt for this year's playoffs. They'd be all right. But like a world without Caitlin Clark, let's just say Caitlin Clark goes back. She goes back one more year, and then she ends up in Dallas. She ends up winning an NCAA champ. Ooh, would she have? Nah, that UConn team was too good. She ends up losing a third straight championship final. And then they go and face off against, and Caitlin obviously goes number 1 in the draft, Paige number 2. Caitlin ends up in Dallas, Paige ends up in fucking, there's no way LA trade the pick. She ends up in LA. Probably best for both of them. And realistically, what ends up happening in that scenario is the Indiana Fever last season win 13 games, don't make the playoffs again. The Indiana Fever this season probably are in that 7-8 seed hunt. But Katie Lou Samuelson is still a starter, potentially. Victoria Saxton is still on the team. They might still have Grace Berger there, which might lead them to 17 more wins in a season. Kelsey Mitchell is still putting up her empty stats. Aaliyah's on a purely back to the basket post scorer. The hub that is Aaliyah Boston doesn't exist. Like, that's what happens if Caitlin's not there. And look, it's not the end of the world or anything. It's not like it's the sky is falling, but they'd have no fans, and they would be like, they'd be the Washington Mystics without the young talent. And to be fair, the Fever might have got the first pick back to back years. And maybe they did. But yeah, it is just an interesting situation, but it does seem like in all of these things now with the Fever, is they're trying to promote the Fever as a big brand. They think the Fever is this brand that people are going to want to be around and people are going to want to hype. And for me, I'm like, no, the Fever is Caitlin and friends. And we like Aaliyah Boston. We like Kelsey Mitchell, but let's be honest. We'll still be fans of them. Nobody is watching this team. If Caitlin leaves the team for good, every one of the fans that are watching for Caitlin and have stayed on are going to be like, you know, we have a soft spot for Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, but fuck that franchise. But yeah, that is pretty much it. That is the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? And as always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.